There's a cup in the British Museum that's over 600 years old. In normal light, it looks like a beautiful but ordinary piece of Roman glass, smooth, jade green, delicately carved. But shine a light through it from behind, and the entire cup ignites into a deep, glowing blood red. Same glass, same cup. No paint, no hidden tricks. Just Roman craftsmanship doing something glass has no business doing. For decades, modern scientists had no idea how this was possible. When they finally figured out the truth, it only raised bigger questions. And some of those questions still don't have a clean answer. The Lycurgus cup was made in the 4th century AD. During the final chaotic years of the Roman Empire, it's a cage cup, carved so precisely that the outer layer of glass stands almost free of the inner cup, connected only by small bridges, and decorated with the myth of King Lycurgus being punished by Dionysus. It's an impressive piece of carving on its own. But the real story here isn't about the mythology on the surface, it's about the glass underneath it. This extraordinary object completely vanished from history for over 1,000 years. No Roman texts mention it, no records, no descriptions of how it was made or who commissioned it. Some historians think it might have been a gift for a wealthy Roman official, maybe even tied to celebrations around Constantine's rule. It only reappeared in the 19th century in the collection of the Rothschild family, long after anyone who understood how it was actually built had been gone for well over a millennium. When experts finally studied the cup properly, they were stumped. Some called it an optical illusion caused by the carving itself. Others blamed centuries of aging, assuming the glass had somehow chemically shifted over time. A few guessed the Romans had accidentally tossed some unusual minerals into the mix and gotten lucky once. None of these explanations held up under testing. The color change was too perfect, too consistent. Green when light reflects off the surface, deep red when light passes through the glass. Every single time. In every lighting condition researchers tried. If it really was an accident, it was the most reliable accident anyone had ever documented in glasswork. Whatever caused this, it clearly wasn't luck in the way people first assumed. In the 1990s, researchers at the British Museum finally took a tiny fragment of the glass, smaller than a grain of sand, and put it under an electron microscope. What they saw changed the entire conversation around Roman engineering. Scattered throughout the glass were billions of microscopic particles of gold and silver, each one smaller than a virus, far too small to see even with a standard laboratory microscope. These weren't sitting on the surface, and they weren't a coating applied afterward. They were embedded directly into the molten glass while it was still being formed, distributed with a level of consistency that would be difficult to achieve even with modern lab equipment. Modern scientists have a name for that now: nanotechnology. The Romans got there first. Roughly 16 centuries before the word existed, without knowing a single thing about atoms, particles, or the physics of light. So did the Roman craftsmen who built this actually know what they were doing, or did they stumble into one of history's luckiest accidents? The evidence leans heavily toward real skill. Achieving this effect required an extremely narrow set of conditions. The right ratio of gold to silver, likely somewhere close to a 14:1 mix. Exact furnace temperatures held steady for long stretches, and careful timing during the cooling process. Push the temperature even slightly too high or too low, and the nanoparticles either clump together or fail to form properly, and the whole color shifting effect disappears completely. That kind of precision is hard to explain as a one-time fluke, especially since historians have found fragments of other Roman glass with similar, if less refined, dichroic properties. This wasn't a single lucky batch. It looks like the tail end of a much longer tradition, one where earlier attempts were probably far less impressive, and one master glassmaker eventually perfected a formula that few others ever matched. Which raises an uncomfortable point for how we usually think about ancient technology. We tend to assume a single genius stumbled onto something extraordinary. More likely, this was the result of an entire workshop culture, refining a dangerous, expensive process over years or even decades, with plenty of ruined batches along the way that we'll simply never see, because failed experiments don't survive in museum collections. These craftsmen had no microscopes, no atomic theory, no modern chemistry, and almost certainly no formal way of writing down exact measurements the way a modern lab notebook would. And they still created a material that scientists are actively studying today, using tools those craftsmen couldn't have imagined. They didn't need to understand the physics behind what they were doing. They needed to master the process itself, judging temperature by the color inside the furnace, judging timing by feel and experience, and passing that knowledge down from master to apprentice, generation after generation, the same way countless other ancient crafts survived long before anyone wrote textbooks about them. That's worth sitting with for a second. An apprentice standing beside that furnace wasn't learning a formula. He was learning a set of instincts that had never been written down. And that couldn't really be written down, not in a way that meant anything to someone who hadn't spent years standing next to the heat themselves. Today, this same phenomenon is studied in a field called plasmonics, which looks at how tiny metal particles interact with light in ways that don't behave like ordinary materials. When light hits a nanoparticle small enough, it causes the electrons on its surface to vibrate at a very specific frequency, and that vibration determines which colors of light get absorbed and which get reflected or transmitted through. Change the size of the particle or the material it's made from, and you change the entire effect. The principles behind the Lycurgus cup now show up in advanced medical diagnostic tools that can detect diseases from a single drop of blood, in highly sensitive security sensors used to spot counterfeit documents, and in experimental color-shifting materials researchers are still trying to fully commercialize. The Romans got there first, centuries before anyone could explain why it worked, using nothing more than furnace heat, careful proportions, and generations of hard-earned experience. The Lycurgus cup isn't just an impressive artifact sitting behind glass in a museum case. It's proof that incredible engineering can exist long before the science exists to explain it, and a reminder of how easily that kind of knowledge can be lost for good, sometimes within a single generation, if nobody bothers to write it down. Whoever built this cup never left behind a set of instructions. They had no reason to think that centuries later, an entire team of researchers would be pulling a fragment of their work apart, atom by atom, just to understand what they'd figured out through trial, error, and years standing next to a hot furnace. If a once-in-600-year-old cup can still surprise modern scientists using equipment the Romans couldn't have dreamed of, it makes you wonder how many other forgotten engineering secrets are quietly sitting in museum storage rooms right now, waiting for someone with the right tool to finally take a closer look. What do you think? Pure genius, incredible luck, or something in between? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. I'm Scout, and this has been Forgotten Engineering. If you love stories about lost technology and ancient ingenuity, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Next time, we're going even further back in history. See you in the next video.